You can talk all you want about who did what to get where. Here's one thing. This guy is just waiting. He doesn't care who it is. He doesn't care when it is. He's coming for you. And if you doubt it, that's at your own peril. We're going to get into tonight on your show on RGR Football. Welcome back, everybody. It is that simple. Just does not care. The rest of the field does not care. I did this, and I hate to antagonize any one fan base, but I'm fed up with it. So if you're a Bengals fan, you're going to hate this show. I hope you stick around because I'm going to make it long. It's going to be awesome. For you Chiefs fans, welcome back in. Chiefs got through, made it exactly where they wanted to be, the way they wanted to be. And we're going to run it down for you. You guys are going to ask the questions. We're going to provide the answer. This is Dan Harms, the lead draft analyst here at RGR, as well as over at TDN, the Draft Network. You can see his work, his film, his videos, his articles, and maybe even a mock draft. You got that dropping today, right?
It dropped last night. So you guys can go over there and check that out. It's on my Twitter. It's on thedraftnetwork.com. You can find my latest mock. And my point was to just take the one player that whatever fan base you are and make it so you didn't like the pick. That was my only point, my only objective, so you can argue about it with me. So that's how I feel about mock drafts right now.
I like it. I love that. And I'm actually feeling pretty antagonistic. You can tell from the title of tonight's show. We are going to answer all of your questions. This is your Q&A, folks. So get your super chats in. Every super chat gets an answer, and every topic gets addressed tonight by us, to you, for you, because of you. So thank you. I also do want to say, check out NFL 33. I just dropped a piece that really pissed me off the other day. Not because I have a love of Gerard Mayo, not my point. It's that dumb decisions made by ownership because they're comfortable leads to downfall. And I think it's silly that you made a move. I wrote about the Patriots. I know nobody wants to talk about them, but it really did tick me off. So check out NFL 33, become a member, and support us over there. We would very much appreciate it. You can get the gear that we're both wearing tonight in the store, and we are going to get after it right away, unless you have a pre-topic before we get to the questions.
I don't actually, but we'll have some of the topics that I'm going to cover that I want to cover in the questions tonight because I've already seen them.
Sweet, rock and roll. All right. How much turnover on players and coaches do you expect on next year's team? Great question after all the things that came out today.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I know that Matt Nagy is getting a head coaching interview with the New York Jets, but if you look at what the Jets are doing, they're literally just rounding up players or people to say, hey, we're trying. We're waiting until the guys that we actually want become available, because otherwise we're kind of sitting here twiddling our thumbs. So Matt Nagy has previous head coaching experience. They have won back-to-back Super Bowls in Kansas City. He's probably going to be on his way to try to get another one. So, I mean, why not try and get some experience in the room? But they also have went after Mike Borgonzi, which is the other big shoe to drop. So you have to take into consideration that there's going to be some things that happen, probably multiple front office people and some coaches are going to be sniffed around in this offseason period, especially if the Chiefs win 3 in a row, because people want part of that and they want to understand how to do it. So I think it's going to be a pretty nice change in terms of the overturn. The core is going to stay the same, but the Chiefs have got some money to shell out this offseason in terms of players. So they have to make some tough decisions.
It helps when you have that to go, right? And they've already lost Terry Braden to Nebraska, right? Defensive line coach is where he's going to go. So we've seen a little turnover there. There are some others outside of, they're in the Chiefs family or the Reed family, but they're not currently on staff. Looks like Kafka's going to get some attention here. Has left for the Giants a couple of years ago, but from this staff, Ray Farmer, who was in the front office when Herm was here, is getting some attention. So there's a lot coming back to the franchise. It just won't directly affect all the turnover here on the team. Great question, Steve. Appreciate you. I know it's a massive if scenario. Our guy minutes are, and for those of you that are getting those free memberships, start giving him a hand. If we could get Tyreek, D-Hop, Hollywood on this team next year, would it make the starting wide receivers Hill, Rice, Hollywood, Worthy, D-Hop, Nico? That 6th spot, man, that's going to be a tough one. What would you envision?
That's what I would say. Perfect. We don't need anybody else. We got everyone we need. And we've seen Nico do a good job, be the returner. No one else has to be the returner. He can be the return guy, be your sixth receiver, and you're good to go. I'm happy with that.
I completely agree. It alleviates the need for McCole Hardman. I appreciate the contributions, but you don't need him. Juju, same concept. Justin Watson, same concept. At that point, if you were to get that group, yes. But as much as we talked about it being a possibility with Tyreek and his comments, because it happened while we were recording the other day, $56 million in a cap hit. I'm sorry, in dead money, not cap hit. From what I read, that is a lot. So I really don't see him getting his way to get out of Miami. But, stranger things have happened. Can never say never, I guess. And Minotaur, thank you for your support. I think it's in here. Yes. Minotaur's been giving these out, folks. If you are lucky enough to receive one of the freebie memberships that he himself out of the goodness of his heart, thank him. Like I
appreciate you.
And then if you want to get into all the extra content and stuff, you can get in there by upgrading to the rookie level. You get the extra videos and the notes and everything that you might want to do the research portion on. But it all flows from Minotaur. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you. We mentioned his question there as well. Joe, I think the Chiefs are in great shape for a three-peat. Any weaknesses in the Chiefs that could stop them? Anything glaring right now, especially in retrospect of yesterday?
The only thing that comes to mind is if this time off actually gives them real rust. Like that's what I think. And I've seen people saying, the Chiefs are going to lose their first matchup in the divisional round, whatever. Okay. How many times are we going to play this song and dance? How many times are we going to say the last? Again, I want everyone to look at last year's team. That team had no business winning playoff games, had no business winning a Super Bowl, and they did. But you want to know why? It's because Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, the core are just different. They're built different. And when you have teams with this core that are able to just turn it on at whenever they want to, I don't think that there's a weakness outside of them just not giving the effort, which I don't have any evidence to suggest that they don't give effort in the postseason.
I have to agree with you. I won't say it's a weakness. They're chinks in the armor. There always are. But I won't call it a weakness because what I saw from DJ Humphries yesterday was a guy that was really rusty and clearly not 100%, but clearly better. And I think good enough to make it plausible to put Joe back at left guard, thereby upgrading the guard spot to really solidify that. And I do think that would help. Had he played yesterday next to Joe Thuney, I think that would have helped him a little bit as well. But I can't call it a weakness now because if you decide that that's not good, or that it isn't working, you have the ability to then bump Joe back out and put Caliendo back in. Having two options there makes this plausible. I also feel the same thing about the cornerbacks. Everybody's really upset about the quarterbacks today. You know what? McDuffie's going to be back in there. It's not too much of a concern. Jalen may actually get to play in the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping for the divisional round to knock some rust off, but having him back with McDuffie on top of the guys that we liked. I saw nothing that dissuaded me from CRW yesterday. I don't know if you did, but I think that is assuaged my other big concern.
Yeah, when you get him, even if he just rotates in, if you get Jalen Watson to rotate in the divisional round, and then he's like, yeah, I'm good to go, and he can fully play in the AFC Championship game, that's a win-win situation. That is just how it works because you're getting everyone some experience, and then you can put him in high leverage situations and say, okay, we need you to go out there and make a play in these two downs here. Go do that. And he'll be able to do that because he's already got the talent to succeed in those spots that we've seen before. So I think that's really all this comes down to. If Jalen Watson suffers a setback this week, knock on wood, anything like that, that would be the weakness that I could see being where they could lose, right? Where it's just Trent McDuffie and a bunch of other guys. Like you can attack those. We've seen that happen. So that's the only caveat that I'll give to that.
Okay. Fair enough. And we have a ton of comments and a ton of super chats.
Yeah.
Just want to say hi to a couple folks because it's going to take us a while to get to you. And Kevin and Caroline and Info and Stevie's in the house. Nice to see you, Stevie. We are going to get to all you guys. I just wanted to go through and let you know that we did see him. We're just going to get the folks that were up here a little bit higher on the list. So thanks, Joe. PM to go. How nervous are you if we have to play the Chargers? It's a good question. But not any more so than I ever am. And quite frankly, I feel like the pressure is more likely to get to them of being a third match in the playoffs than it is to get to the Chiefs.
Yeah, they still haven't been able to really get, crack that seal, right? The Chargers haven't been able to really beat the Chiefs in terms of games when it matters. They haven't played in the postseason before. Justin Herbert has they lost that game. He doesn't have a playoff victory to his name. They lost that football game to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So all of that being said, Harbaugh gets you so far as a head coach. The players don't have the experience. Obviously they want to. That offense doesn't really scare me in the postseason in terms of they're going to run the ball at you. They're going to play action you to death because I'm not afraid of J.K. Dobbins coming off of an injury. And I think that overall the Chargers don't have that experience. And Justin Herbert has shown in these games that he doesn't put up enough points against this Chiefs defense to make me worried about it.
Fair enough. And I wanted to put this up here because they're going to have to go through Houston first. So it's not just an instant thing. I know that it's not like a drastic mismatch, but they do have to accomplish this. Do I wish they were playing the Ravens? Yes, I would have much preferred that. That would have been great in my mind because then you can let the two run teams really beat up on each other, and I would have been really happy with that. So, there are always pluses and minuses, but this isn't the end of the world. And I think really when we get to that point, we'll see what kind of shape they are in and what kind of shape the Chiefs are in. Thank you, Goat. Micah, nice to see you, buddy. If we play the Chargers, do you think McDuffie should travel and guard Lad McConkey all game? Is it a bad matchup against any other? Oh, he is a bad matchup against any other DB that we have. I hate to tell you, he's quicker in outbreaks than Trent is too. Is it worth distracting? Probably in my book. What do you think?
I think I would let CRW get a few snaps in the slot against him. I'll be honest. Because the physicality with which he plays, I think you can get timing off a little bit if you allow him to be a little more physical with a guy like McConkey, who's not the most physical getting through his route. Once he gets through his stem into his break, that's when he's dangerous. If he gets a free release and he can start getting his speed going, that's when he really starts to be impactful. But again, I'm just doubling him. I'm saying I'm going to put CRW on you. Hey, Trent, maybe keep an eye on him here. If he comes to your side, keep eyes on him. Hey, Jaden Hicks, if he comes over to you, get your eyes on him. Because I'm not scared of Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston. I'm not. They're not going to beat you. And I don't care how many yards Quentin Johnston had in the final game against the Las Vegas Raiders. He's not scaring me in the postseason.
I am 100% with you. Folks, if you want on the show tonight, get your super chats in. We are coming up on them. We got a ton of questions tonight. We're going to work through them all. Yeah, what did yesterday's game do for Carson Wentz's future? It left it as a possibility for the Chiefs. That's what it did. He had an opportunity. Had they put in a real game plan and really tried to attack, he might have been able to play himself onto a contract on another team. The circumstances just didn't allow. And I'm not going to blame Wentz, but it's not going to get him any extra attention, in my opinion.
No, he's probably going to be the Chiefs' backup going forward for the foreseeable future.
And I personally am very comfortable with that. I like the concept. So more redheads is what I say. Steven, how screws is the AFC if the Bills and Ravens lose? I mean, the rest of the AFC, this team in the AFC is in prime position, and I'm ready for the confetti to fall. I'll tell you that.
I mean, you have to take it into consideration. The Chiefs can't just lighten the load and say they're not going to play this as the postseason. Anyone can get beat at any time. If they both do, it is what it is, right? Like that means that those teams were playing better than the Bills and the Ravens on those days. And it is the NFL. I think the Bills-Broncos game is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think the Broncos have a legitimate chance to win that football game because that defense is for real. Okay. And I do think that the Ravens kind of stomp all over the Steelers because they've done nothing but go the opposite direction in the last month. But that's neither here nor there. One game is all that matters. So I'm not going to just wrap it up in a bow and give it to the Chiefs because they have to play the games. That's why we play the games, right? We have to see what's going to happen. We have to see how they're going to respond and raise their level of play.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole process of evolving a team, not just doing one thing. I think that's where a lot of teams, honestly, it's why the Bengals got to one Super Bowl, couldn't pull it out, and haven't been able to go back. They haven't been able to evolve. And I, for one, Lou Anarumo got canned today. Come on over. I got a contract for you for 4 weeks to be a consultant. It's not going to happen because teams are all over him already, as they should be. But hey, you can hope. Like I put it out there, and about 5 minutes later, I was like, "Oh God, this ain't happening. We're not even gonna have a conversation about this dude." Swag boy, the way Dad felt about last year's AFC champ game on the way is the way I feel about three-peating. I hope I'm wrong. How did you feel about the championship game last year? I don't recall.
Right here.
Oh, that's why you're in charge of this damn thing. Okay.
Swag boy, I understand. Like it's hard. It's hard to three-peat. I don't think that anyone should be like feel bad about feeling this way. If you feel like they can get there and maybe they lose regardless, like I understand that. I'm not going to tell everyone that they're definitely going to three-peat. I think their chances of doing so are obviously great considering it's the postseason. They got to win 3 games. Like, I mean, the chances are pretty good that they can do it, but I'm not going to be down on you for thinking, they might not do it. It's okay. 2 out of 3 in a 3-year stretch. If you make it to the postseason, you get the number 1 seed. Worse things have happened.
Yeah. But as you said, 12 quarters. I feel like they got 12 quarters in them.
I do too.
Much like the thumbnail, I ain't scared. I got this team going. Man, and it's funny because we started throwing three-peat around almost as quickly as Patrick did last year. And it's been hard at times for me to be like, damn, I don't know if I can keep saying this, but it's worked out to this point, and now they are in prime position. Yes, Josh and his teammates are a challenge. Lamar and his teammates are a challenge. And yes, even the Lions are a challenge. I don't know how they're going to survive with their injury cases and with the Chiefs getting people back. Again, it feels like this plan has come together and they are now ascending into the postseason like they had always planned to. Steven, with Matt Nagy's name swirling for head coaching jobs, who do you think takes over as OC? So if somebody does pull the trigger and hire him, who would you like to see?
So there's 2 answers to this question because there's who I would like to see. And his name is Ryan Grubb, who just got fired from the Seattle Seahawks. But I think he's going to go be with his buddy Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. And there's going to be Andy Reid's answer. Hey, Doug Peterson, come back and be my offensive coordinator.
I mean, I am in my heart of hearts. There's a good percentage of me that's saying, could we see Doug and Bieniemy back? Just put the band back together again and go hard nose.
Sure,
I want
fine.
To.
It's happened before. I like new things. Andy Reid is the person that loves his buddies. So,
and I like Grubb. I think that's a great call. I was excited when he got let go because I think there are certain limitations, even with a quarterback like Geno Smith, who's played above expectation. And I think
that offensive line.
I don't know how it's dilapidated to this point, especially with the tackles and what I thought was a really good investment the first 2 seasons after they were drafted. It just hasn't panned out that way. And so I'm excited to see where it lands. Grubb, folks, was running the offense at Washington with DeBoer when Penix was there. And if you haven't picked up Michael Penix in your keeper leagues yet, you're doing something wrong. We told you about him last spring. I'm just going to tell you again. What you guys review on the new kickoff rules this year? What's our view on it? Will they change in 25? I'm not sure I have a big feeling, but I think they will continue to tweak in 25.
Yeah, tweak is probably the answer to this question, not change. We're going to probably see the same big overarching rule, but tweak some things here and there. Maybe you'll see some landing zone changes to where it goes, feet inside the end zone, out of the end zone, things like that. You're muted.
I muted myself. Excuse me. Yep. So, Jeremy, thank you, sir. Regular season is completed. Beyond left tackle, what do you view as the Chiefs' biggest weakness, and how will the coaches handle it? I think there's still a couple. This is a patchwork pass rush, especially at edge. The 22 class can now be extended as of today. That's critical. And I know a lot of folks, I can see 3 right now, and one of them needs to be George Karlaftis, in my point of view. A lot of people don't like that. And I don't understand it because Charles Omenihu is a free agent. Mike Dan is functional. FAU is a journeyman. You don't have anything else. You got to bring GK back as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's your tight end. You're assuming your defensive end too. Like you kind of need that. And then if you don't bring Charles Omenihu back, then you're looking to maybe draft a defensive end. Because for everything that FAU has done, he's gotten better. He's not your best pass rusher. He's not the defensive end or the edge one in this room. They need another one. So you might end up seeing them draft one at the end of the first round too. It's an interesting spot if they don't bring back Charles Omenihu, which I'll be interested to see what happens there.
Yeah, I will too. I think there's still a possibility again with the injury and the total number of snaps. It is possible there. I will say this too. With Jalen and McDuffie, I do think there's room to add more corner depth. I'm not sure about J. Will and Nazi. Obviously, both like where CRW is going. So I think the two outside positions at wide receiver and corner are going to be something that's going to be perennially drafted, always to keep reloading and see what happens. But it sounds like it's a broken record, but left tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, and edge rusher, it's like the same thing for the last 3 years.
Give me another safety. Give me a running back.
Yeah.
Draft another tight end.
Yeah. We're on the road again. What are the chances of Hollywood and D-Hop coming back next season? Just spitball it.
I think we got about a 65% chance of Hollywood Brown coming back next season. And depending on how this year turns out, a 40% chance of D-Hop coming back.
Okay. I'd probably take both those up 10% myself. I'm a little more optimistic, but who knows? Winning will change that.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Debbie, thank you very much. We appreciate the support. Happy New Year's to both of you, and thank you. Thoughts on if you think Joe Thuney should stay at left tackle for after the Denver game? Like I said it before, I would switch it, and I think you're okay with that. But what's like the percentage that you would leave Joe at left tackle?
So I got through the DJ Humphries film. First half, he was pretty good. Like, I'll be honest. Like, he looked way better than I expected him to. I think he had some rough patches. Maybe that's more of defense adjusting to him. Hey, they didn't give him a ton of help in the second half either. I think that was Andy Reid trying to see how he was going to react because he saw some chips in the first half and they got his feet under him a little bit. And then they said, how can you handle it? And they just let it go, I think, a little bit. So there's some of that to it. And he looked physically better than I expected him to. So I think that they're going to let it go. I think they're going to let him play left tackle because, like I said yesterday, and like you mentioned earlier, you can go back to Joe at left tackle. You've seen 3 good games, and you have the makeshift workings of the offense that can structurally run in that scenario. If you absolutely have to, you can go back to it. So you have something to legitimately fall on, which they didn't have before. They said, hey, Joe, go play left tackle because we don't know what to do now.
I tell you what, it's for having to be in that situation, most other teams would have gone on a losing streak. Let's be real. It's crazy. So we can't underestimate that. Debbie, thank you. It was a great question, and thank you for the support. We really appreciate it. Let's get in here. Who's going to surprise on offense and defense in this postseason? That is a great one. And I have an answer, but I want to hear yours first.
Yeah. I actually think DeAndre Hopkins is going to surprise people. He hasn't been super productive, and I think that's by design. I think that he had a big game against the Buccaneers earlier in the season, and they were just like, okay, hey, take it down, D-Hop. Take it down a little bit. We want people to get Xavier Worthy in their heads. We want people to get Travis back in their heads. We want, Hollywood Brown's coming back. We're going to throw him the ball a lot. You bide your time. You wait. Postseason, baby, is when we are going to unleash DeAndre Hopkins. And it's just going to be, I don't know, he might have a 100-yard game the first game in the postseason. I'm not sure how it's going to go. He's going to score a touchdown. I almost would put money on it right now that he's going to score a touchdown in the first playoff game. On defense, surprise? Probably CRW. I think he's going to get some plays. I think he should be playing more often. Like, that just needs to be, because they're going to probably be leading these games. He should be playing more in those situations when teams are running the football. You want to put Jamar Connor out there? Fine.
Sure.
That's fine. Whatever. Go for it. But if you're having to siege a team that's trying to throw the ball, CRW to make some plays in the run game too, I think he'll make some big plays there too.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. The two guys that I will pick are very similar, although I'm reading it a little bit differently than you are on offense. I feel like they got him back, and they're like, don't do anything. Don't show yourself, Hollywood. Just make a couple of catches when we need a first down here or there. Don't do anything special. Chill out. And I think they're ready to unleash him because I think he might sneak up on teams that are like, oh, he's still like hurt. He can't do anything. We can't really threaten us over the top. And poof, he's going to be gone. Like, I am ready to see that.
I
and
love
on
it.
defense, the guy that I'm really excited about and that hasn't been shown except maybe a little bit, I think the guy that could make the difference, especially in the divisional round, but certainly if it comes to the AFC Championship game and it is the Bills, I think it's Leo Chenal. I think he's the multiplier that goes right on top of where we want to be, and I'm excited to see it.
It's so cool to get to see who comes to play in the postseason, because last year Leo again was a huge part of the postseason. But who's it going to be this year? Everyone kind of steps up their game a little bit, and I'm excited to see who it's going to be. I can't wait.
I would love to know what you guys think. Put those in the chat, or if you're watching
Yes.
After the stream, put it down in the comments. Who stands out? Who raises their game to be the guy in this postseason? Casey, appreciate you. 9 months and running. You are the man. Spags matches up best against Burrow. Do you agree? I don't know. It's partially because of the receivers, but I actually think he does a very good job against Josh as well. In terms of the passing game. Now, Josh will get away from you and he will run on you. I don't know. I feel it's 6-1 for me.
I get it. I understand that for sure. I think he in terms of looking around the league, I think Spags knows how to limit the offense and force them to play a little bit left-handed, because they want to take those deep shots downfield, sure, but that's also kind of what the Chiefs want you to do. They don't want you to throw underneath. They want you to throw low percentage deep balls. And I know they have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, but not that it really matters anymore, because they're not in the postseason. They're going to be enjoying their Mai Tais on the beach somewhere because, I mean, win more games next time. But yeah, I think that he matches it up pretty well.
Hey, here's your job description. Win more games. Oh, I love that. That was a good one. And Casey also said any chance with the member milestone super chats can get more than 50 characters. I didn't realize you were being limited. I don't know. I'll have to research that because it's not a setting that I have. Maybe I can do something about that. I'm honestly not sure about the character limits, but I will look into it, buddy. Thanks for bringing it up, and I appreciate it. Drew, fairly new here over the past year or two. When do you guys typically release your draft guides? Usually right at the beginning of April is when I finally complete it. It is a large task. I try to get the athletic matrix out a little bit quicker because it is less compiling, but we will have it there. We will give you content all around it, Drew, all the way up to it. We basically start having discussions as soon as the Super Bowl is over and especially this year, I'm sure we will, because Dan is way ahead of me on film. Good God. Yeah, I'm going to be next to
start working at the Draft Network. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like you got a job. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Right. But we'll have stuff for you the whole time. And we put out our draft boards, our finalized draft boards the week before as well, so that you'll have that usually the Monday before the draft. So keep that and welcome in. I'm glad you're here, Drew. Stevie, nice to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And thanks again for the support. Brian Lou is an advisor for the playoffs. Abso-freaking-lutely. That was exactly my first reaction as well. Like, I'll chip in for his salary for a month. I don't care. Let's go. Because if nothing else, he can help you self-scout. Like, what are you scared of? What don't you have an answer for? What might this DC try to do to us? Let alone helping Spags. I think he might be more valuable on the offensive side, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. It gives you an entire different insight into how he stopped your offense. You can pick his brain and say, hey, what'd you do? Because that one thing that Lou Anarumo does is that he forces a bad team, a bad defense, to squeeze everything against the Chiefs. They make it difficult every time they play. You can get some insight and be, we don't understand. Like, why is it we can't seem to figure this out for whatever reason it is? So that would be very interesting to kind of pick his brain a little bit in that regard. And then, I mean, Lou and Spags and Colin in the same room, guys, call it a wrap.
Yeah. Although I have to say, I'm a little disappointed with Joe. I watched Cam Thomas go to Cleveland and actually produce some stuff. And I'm disappointed that was not able to be patched in to this defense. I really wanted to see that. So if I get a chance to talk to Joe Colin, we're going to talk about that. Coach? Damn. Hey guys, how you doing, Donnie? Thanks again, buddy. I have a free agency question. I know we're all fixed on one particular Miami player right now, but what about Javon Holland? Is he a pipe dream? I didn't think he was available after this year. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong,
Okay.
but I could be also wrong about that.
Well, I'm
And
gonna look it up.
he didn't have a great season, and then he got hurt. So I don't know you're going to be getting the player that he was 2 years ago if he were to be a free agent and you could sign him, because that's a player I would love to have. But
Yeah.
he hasn't been playing at that level. And then he got, again, the injury. So you have to take that in consideration.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. And so when we take a look at it, I don't mean to crowd the camera there, guys. It looks like no, you're absolutely right. Did they not give him a 5th year extension? I thought
He's
he
a
was
second round pick.
Was he a second rounder?
No.
Okay, that's why. Okay. Well, shoot, that just changed part of my philosophy for the offseason, Donnie. Yes,
Okay,
injuries and all, but I mean, you're not going to pay him $20 million a year, but
no.
good Lord, if he's free and if the Rats are fleeing the ship in Miami, which it looks like it might be, and I don't mean to call Javon a rat. That was not my intention. I just meant if everybody's bailing off of a sinking ship, why not scoop him up? I can totally get into that.
Sure, I'm down.
Good catch, Donnie. Damn, I didn't even realize. Okay. My goal tonight is to get through this stream without dropping an F-bomb again. So I might say damn once or twice, folks. Apologies. Happy New Year's, Ray. Thanks for the support, buddy. Good to see you. Best D matchup for Mahomes in the divisional round. Any meetups soon? I'm trying to put something together here in the Denver area. There's more and more people showing up in Denver. So I'm trying to put something there, and I will not be back anytime soon in Kansas City until camp-ish. So, but I did have an idea, and I want to ask anybody who is around, if you want to have an RGR group get together somewhere in Kansas City, let me know, and we'll advertise and we'll set it up so I can let everybody know through the channel. Would love to see that, even though I wouldn't be able to attend. Casey Bierko has been really kind to us in the past and setting some things up, so like we could certainly try to arrange something if you guys are into it. Great idea, Ray. And I will let you know. As far as best matchup for the divisional round, I mean, I know the Broncos just kicked the snot out of the backups, but I still feel like despite their defensive prowess, you can put points up on them because of the familiarity. The only other team right now that I'd probably rather play is the Steelers, but they ain't beating the Ravens.
I'm totally okay playing the Texans again.
Yeah.
I know their pass rush is really, really good. I'll live with that. They have figured out how to score on them last time, and there's multiple ways you can attack them through the air. I think that they've got some good young pieces in the secondary. Obviously, they have those good players, but they were able to attack them in that game. And I think that in the postseason, again, with that bye week to plan for, it changes the dynamic. So I think that Denver's defense is better in terms of a holistic approach and in every level, but I think that I would rather play the Texans in terms of all of the if, ands, or buts.
Fair enough. And we'll know what's going to happen with that first. I do find it kind of cool, and people are going to bitch and complain about this too, that it's somehow a conspiracy to help the Chiefs. The Chiefs might know their opponents earlier because the AFC is playing first. The AFC is playing both Saturday games and playing the early game on Sunday. So the field will be set a little bit earlier than waiting, until like 10 p.m. on Monday to see a playoff game. So glad I'm not an NFC team. I'll just put it that way. But it also will stagger through the rest of the offseason schedule. So it's not really like a true disadvantage. Bengals fans are going to tell you that because they're a bunch of babies, but that's okay. If you could only keep D-Hop in Hollywood, who are you keeping? And how do you guys feel about Tyler Warren in the first round?
If I only keep one, it's probably going to be Hollywood. He's younger. And I think you'll probably get him cheaper than DeAndre Hopkins next year, even though DeAndre is a little bit older. I think that depending on what the playoffs hold for each player, that will also dictate that. But that's what I would go. And again, that's just my thinking there. And I don't think he's going to be available where the Chiefs pick in the first round. I'll be honest with you, especially if you check out my latest mock. I had him going much higher than 32. But I would like it. I would very much like to see him in Kansas City. but I don't think it's going to happen.
How would he fit in? Like where
He would just be the tight end too. Like he would be de facto. I know they got the extension, but he'd come in, kind of be your extra maybe 13 personnel guy in his first season, but he'd give Travis Kelce some rest because that's what he can do. He can be that rest guy for him. You can also keep Noah Gray in his current role, but you can rotate Travis out with a guy who is actually athletic enough to do some of the things that maybe Travis can do, not the mental stuff, but more of the yards after catch, some of the bigger tight end stuff. He's 6'6", like 260 pounds, and he moves like he's much smaller than that. So especially after the catch.
I can dig it. Okay. Thank you, Dawson, and thank you, Jake. Thoughts on Kingsley at guard? This is one of the things that I want to go focus and watch on. I just haven't had a chance today. What'd you think?
The very first play was so bad. Like the first time he lunged at the defense tackle and just got beat across his face. I was like, what are we doing here, buddy? He settled in. He started to be a little bit more patient. It felt like he was really trying to show like he can do this, like he can do something. So he got off to tried to be really aggressive. It got beat. He slowed down. He was really good with combo blocks with Hunter Norzad, who looked very good, by the way, at center. Outside of his snaps were low, but he looked fantastic as a blocker. But Kingsley, hand usage was better. He looked more in control of his footwork, and he looked more confident after that first snap. So I'm not all the way through his snaps yet, but for what I saw, I think he played pretty well.
Okay. I'm going to take a look at him too, and I'm glad you brought up Hunter because this is just PFF, so don't take it as the Bible or nothing, folks. But this did coincide with what I had live against that same front, graded out better than Creed against the same front. There were no changes. So that's the great thing about getting this look against a good defensive front. He's like, you can say, okay, he was up there with Tooney and Smith and Humphrey, right? So that's really, really encouraging. And I asked this on Locked On of my co-host there. I really want to know your opinion, though. If one of the guards cannot be re-signed, do you move Creed over to OG and let Hunter snap? No? Okay.
I put Hunter at guard.
Okay.
I got no qualms about doing that.
No.
Zero.
Yeah, he can do both. We didn't get to see it here. So I was like, it really impressed me. I didn't expect him to be as good as he was yesterday.
Yeah. He was much better than he was in the preseason. Like that's real improvement. And it was physical and strength improvement too. So like that's really what you wanted to see.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we did get, and I haven't found them yet, 3 run block snaps of Ethan Driscoll that I have to go back and find and watch. So hey,
he also ran a route.
Did he? Did I miss that? I completely missed that.
He just like it's a clear out. He's just running to the defender and turning a little bit, but it's a route.
All right, I'll take it. Donnie's got another one. Thank you, buddy. A couple more player questions for in regards to the roster. Do you see Kareem coming back next year? Could we also see a first round DT like Deion Walker? I will take the first, and Dan, you can take the second because I think you know my answer. I appreciate what Kareem has done. Unless he gets like the fountain of youth here in the postseason, I don't know that he's got a whole lot left. So if you're willing to do like the vet min kind of deal, then okay. But they need youth and they need top end speed. They need a breakaway guy, in my opinion. So I'm a little out there on that.
Yeah, I don't believe so. Sorry, guys. Kareem's got one left in the tank, I think, and this is it. Deion Walker is not a first-round player. He's a first-round body. He's got freaky athleticism. He's big. He's just not there yet as a player. I would not be taking him in the first round, even at 32. I think there are going to be other defensive tackles that you can take. And I have one, Tyler Williams at Ohio State in my latest mock for the Draft Network is who I have coming to Kansas City at 32. There's other options. If Walter Nolan falls in this draft, I think there's a possibility that one of the Michigan guys, Kenneth Grant, is there at 32 as well. That's another upside type play. He's not Mason Graham. Mason Graham is a blue chip player in this prospect. You're not getting him, but Grant offers upside as a pass rusher, and he's got very good run defense right now, but he's got another one of those athletic guys. But there are a ton of actual defensive tackles in this class that can help you out. And at 32, there's a lot of different options. Deion doesn't really do it for me right now.
I think we're going to see one drafted one way or the other, maybe even a
Yeah.
day 3 guy. I've got a guy that I liked last year that I've only seen like a half on him this year of all 22. Played for Louisville, and he's a tweener like the Chiefs like. Could do kind of the Mike Dana thing, go a little bit back and forth. So Galat's his name. Gillette. I can't remember how you pronounce it. But,
Gillette? Ashton? No,
yeah,
Gillette? No.
Ashton. Yeah.
I think that's a Boston. Maybe I'm wrong. Not Boston College. You're right. It's Gillette or Guillotine. I don't remember how to pronounce his last name, but I'll look it up.
But he's a guy that I think is probably a day 3 prospect at this point, maybe top end of day 3. The Chiefs do need defensive tackle. So if it's not a Deion Walker or somebody up top, if you fall into that band, there are other guys down the line that I think are fits for the scheme that the Chiefs want to run.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Campbell, DT from Miami, by any chance? Tad wants to know. Thank you, Tad. Great question.
Gelati.
Is it gelati? Okay.
I think so.
Okay. It's like a dessert. Okay, I can remember that.
Yeah.
Campbell from Miami, is there any chance? And would you trade Truney, draft a guard to open cash for other signings? His value is the best it will be. It is, but no one will trade you for a 34-year-old guard. I guarantee you. You're not getting anything for Joe Thuney in a trade right now, especially with his salary. But as to the other question, or your thoughts on Thuney?
I don't know if they're going to release Campbell. I don't know.
Is that
Because
Calais that we're talking about?
I believe so.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that's where he's at.
They can at this point because the season ended with him on the roster.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I don't think that you're going to be able to get him anyway, regardless. So that's a no. And again, like Ryan said, I know he played very well this year. I just don't know if you're going to be able to trade him. It's hard to trade those guys unless they're Trent Williams. And no offense to Joe, you're not Trent Williams. He's really, really damn good, but he's not Trent Williams.
Thank you, Tad. I think Joe's going to finish his career at Kansas City Chief. I just don't know when that's going to be. Brent, besides QBs, who are some rookies that impressed you this season throughout the NFL?
Throughout the NFL, that's a good one. There's a tons of players. That is. You have any off the top of your head?
Ladd comes to mind first. I think undervalued in the draft process, has come on and progressed to the point that, I mean, you can put him up against the biggins, the top end wide receivers. He's nearly as productive. And I think bang for the buck, I think that worked out well for them. He's the first one off the top of my head. His teammate Joe Alt has been everything that you wanted, plugged him in at right tackle, and have not looked back in any instance. So good for them. The Chargers actually selected correctly with one of their draft picks. I can't say that every year. And let's see, I'll think of something else too.
Kamari Lassiter, Houston Texans guy who was like a safety, didn't know what he was going to be. He's been a fantastic corner for them. Braden Fisk has been really good. Also a couple guys that I wasn't as high on in terms of where they got selected. I was a big Talise Fuaga fan, but at right tackle, he's been fantastic at left tackle for the New Orleans Saints this year. So you see that, and then Chop Robinson. I was not a fan of. I was like, that's a second round player. But this last month, he has been not just productive, but an extremely good pass rusher. So hats off to the development there from those guys playing, one in their position and one out of position, and really being impact players for their teams.
Yeah, and I'll pull up some lists here and see if I can bring anything else up a little bit later there, Brent. Thank you, buddy. And nice to see you, Caroline. Hope you're doing well. I know I owe you a phone call here. We will get to that shortly. How different is it playing right guard versus left guard? Is it like the difficulty, the side switch for the tackles? I would say the angles are narrower, so it's not quite as difficult in my approximation, but I've never played either outside of high school, so I can't say specifically, but I don't hear guards complaining about the possibility as much as tackles do.
It's like you said, it's the angles for tackles. You have an entire wall of space you're trying to navigate, and it's a different depth. You're backpedaling with your right foot. There's less having to do at guards. So while, it's going to be more uncomfortable, you have to switch your jab hand and your drop foot. But I think overall, it's probably a little bit I would say much easier. But again, I've never done it either. You'd probably want someone that's done it to say if it's more difficult or not. But it is probably uncomfortable, to say the least.
Yeah, I would think so. And back to the previous question, I didn't mention Jared Verse, who I think made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, right?
Yeah.
So kudos to him. And I thought Quinion Mitchell, I think he's fallen off of late, but I thought he started really hot through the 10 or 12 games. And when you're out there on your own, that's deserving.
I love both of those guys, so there's no surprise to me.
I'm a little surprised with Verse. I didn't think he'd transition that well to be able to consistently produce in the league. So kudos to him. Kevin, thoughts on Andrew Armstrong, the wide receiver from Arkansas?
So I'll obviously answer this question for you, Kevin, because Thanks, Ryan has no idea who this is. Andrew Armstrong. So he's another one. This class has a ton of big physical ball winners. A ton of them. They're everywhere. And that's good and bad for this class because everyone's going to compare it to last year and say, well, look at all these elite top guys. I mean, let's be honest. I like Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas does like two things. He does like two things, but he's elite at it. Good for him. He's done a good job. And that's a lot of what this class is with these big, fast guys on the outside. Andrew Armstrong's a big, physical 50-50 guy who's not going to give you a ton from route running yet. He's still learning some of that. He was I believe a JUCO transfer out initially and then went to Arkansas and has started to put up some numbers on a bad team, bad offense where they've basically asked him to do one thing. He's going to be a day 3 guy for me. But again, that's an X type receiver, but an athletic upside build that you would hope to be able to get something out of. If again, he ends up in Kansas City, think of what the Chiefs did with Chris Conley. Like he was supposed to be a go down the field, jump ball kind of guy, but he turned into a possession player who that's kind of what you would see.
You are absolutely right that I didn't know him, but it sounds like a story that I'm familiar with by a couple of other prospects that I have looked at. So.
Yes.
Stevie, it's great to see you. Is rust being physically healthy or mentally rested really worse than not resting and risky injury, only partial recovery physically and mentally? No. Always lean towards the physical as far as I'm concerned. In terms of the mentality of the game and rust, that comes off quick if you're more physically rested after a long season. I think that's paramount.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think we've seen them be in this position before to an extent where they've rested guys. I think it was the last time they were the 1 seed. They rested and came out. Being physically prepared with how much football they've played is the most important thing.
I think you're probably right. There's no substitute for it. There's nowhere to go. Jay, would you guys use our 3rd round pick on a running back in this year's draft? If not, what position would you draft based on your knowledge and strength of this year's class? I just can't do it. I mean, they would have to do something in free agents to alleviate some of the other issues to spend a top 100 on a running back for me.
For this class, I'm doing it. Again, like there will be some caveats to it because if you can get yourself a corner earlier, maybe, or in free agency, I think this would also be a good spot for a corner. I think this is a deep middle class. I actually like this corner class a lot, and also some safety prospects in this range as well. So that's something to be mindful of. But for me, this running back class is so good that I think you might be able to get a guy like Travion Henderson in this range in the 3rd round.
Really? Because I like his game a lot. So in that case, I mean,
it just
we're talking what?
It depends on how the medicals check out for him. I know he's playing well right now. Maybe he doesn't test as well. There's a ton of running backs. Like I'm a big Caleb Johnson fan out of Iowa. I think he's like my RB3 in this class, but he could be RB10 for somebody. Like it really just depends. There's a ton of talent here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So correct me if I'm wrong. Everything goes the way we expect. Picking at 32, at 64, at 65,
66,
and 96. 66.
There's a pick. It's a pick. There's a pick
swap.
Oh,
it's a flip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a flip.
And Jedi, thank you. You put it correct in here. My fault. So either way, I mean, you're talking about having 3 in the top 66. That makes life a whole lot easier of selecting a running back at 96. I can live with that.
Also, let's say they trade back from 32 and acquire another top 100 pick. Let's just say they do that because this would be the draft to trade back and acquire a ton of top 100 picks. This would be the draft to do it.
Yeah, I am 100%, 1,000% with you. I don't usually do that, but yeah, I'm totally there. Oh, sorry, we got Jay's. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you. Darius, nice to see you, bud. Perfect thumbnail tonight. The Chiefs are afraid of the Bengals is one of the laziest takes I ever heard. Yeah, I mean, Dan said it earlier. Win more games, you bums. I don't want to hear your BS.
Like,
They didn't have to
you
play
lost. You lost to the New England Patriots, guys, in the first week of the season. The Jacoby Brissett-led New England Patriots. Hey,
right?
Kansas City, can you beat Denver for us? No.
You lost to a team that went into the locker room, got a cup of coffee, and fired their coach 2 minutes later. That's basically the way that went. So, yeah, you get no sympathy from me, Bengals fans. And I'd love, it doesn't seem like there are any in here today. I know we have some lurkers every now and then, so I try to tease them out. But Darius, thank you, buddy. I hope you appreciate it.
Darius.
Daniel, Ryan, got to ask, with Tyreek wanting out of Miami, should we try to get him, or should we try to trade for Kyle Pitts to bolster the tight end room? No. We ain't trading for nobody, because both those franchises, if they get a whiff of trade, they want to get paid. That's not the business that we're in these days. Even if Mike Borgonzi leaves, whoever takes that job, my money would be Ryan Nutt. They all know. No. We ain't trading for nothing. You let Tyreek go and you eat your cap space, and then I'll talk to Tyreek by myself. Thank you. And I got to tell you, down the stretch, the last couple of games, like when opportunity was there, I used to think it was all quarterback play with Kyle Pitts. I don't know that Kyle Pitts will ever come close to touching his potential.
It's a tough spot, because maybe they should just ask him to lose like 20 pounds and play wide receiver. Like, let's be honest. Like, are you going to get, I'm not sure he's a fit for what they want to do offensively in Atlanta. Like, it's never really worked for him. And I don't know if trading is going to help that. Just throw him the ball. 50-50 stuff. Like, that's what he's been good at his entire career. They have a quarterback now that's going to do it. They didn't make the playoffs, but
yeah. But there's hope in Atlanta. There's hope.
I think there's hope, yeah.
You Bird fans can be happy. Thank you. Appreciate you, buddy. And another one here. Happy New Year. Thank you for everything you guys do. Thank you, buddy. We can't do it without you guys. Otherwise, we'd just be talking to each other. So cheers. Now, can you tell me how to fix the O-line and D-line after we repeat? Sure. You just got to get deals, and you got to draft. You have to make it a priority. What have they done the last few years? Offensive tackle, edge rusher, wide receiver, right? If you really want to fix it, you got to continue. They've done really good at, obviously, Trey, with the medical condition, was a low-round pick that you've been able to make pay off. Norzat, going to be the same thing, in my opinion. They did it with Zach Fulton back in the day. They can continue to do that. So you can take a day 3 player and get him to produce for you, I am certain, on the offensive line. D-line's a little bit different. They've been able to do that a little bit, but I think it needs a top 100 investment.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, you kind of have to bet on some of the things you've already made. Like, you've already placed. Like Kingsley, you're going to have to develop here. Like, you have to get better. Now, where he plays, I don't know, but I'm not going to be mad if he ends up playing guard. If he ends up being a guard for you, you're not going to be mad. Do I want him to play guard? No. I'd love to play him, see him at tackle. I would love to see him get some right tackle snaps in that game. But it was Wanya Morris most of the time, which, fine, whatever. Overall, you have to be able to put investment into it. Tackle, it has to be a longer road if it's not going to be a top 15 player. For the most part, maybe top 20. Like, that's just how it's gone the past decade plus, unless you get lucky, which most teams don't. So it's develop and hope you can hit on what you got.
Yeah, and maybe just have to keep pulling the trigger as well.
Yeah.
There's no more Trent Williamses out there. I don't know that you're getting anybody in free agency. They've tried and failed at that because it's just really, really difficult to do. Thank you, PK. Mason, thank you. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's the likelihood the Chiefs draft another tight end this year with Kelsey's career nearing an end? I mean, yeah, but again, can they afford a top 100? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. They drafted Wiley last year. Obviously, he got hurt. I think Peyton Hendershot's going to be in Kansas City next year. So, I mean, would it be awesome to have another tight end? Sure, but I don't know. I think they got 4 tight ends with Kelsey back next year that they're like, yeah, we don't need to draft another one.
That's kind of how I feel too. And they always seem to find guys that can contribute elsewise. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. Thank you, Mason, and appreciate the support. You too, Perry. Thank you for your support. Who do you pick if Judkins, Henderson, and James are all there? I take Henderson right now over Judkins myself, and I haven't seen enough of James.
Yeah, I think Judkins is going back to school. I don't think he's coming out after the season. After the season he had, he hasn't declared yet. Obviously, they're still in the college football playoff, but I think Judkins is going back. I like James, but Henderson's more versatile, and especially in this offense.
And he seems like his top gear has gotten better this season. Am I wrong?
More removed from that injury, and he's much more explosive.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Thank you, Perry, and thank you, Kev. Good to see you. Have you looked at any draft wide receivers? I'm a big fan of Royals, Beck, Anamarin. I'm not sure. Tez, Higgins, and Igbuka. I like Igbuka. I think he fits into the slot really nicely as a thicker dude. Like physically, I see a little bit of Tyreek in him. Obviously, he's not as explosive speed, but like the thickness to be able to contest catches underneath. Like I like his game a lot.
I've watched all these players. I've watched every single one of them. So I think Ayomanar Elik, I believe that's his name, out of Stanford, is an interesting player. He just needs to understand how to catch the football a little bit better. He's got some poor catching technique, wide hands. You don't really want that, especially for a big receiver. I think he's a good mover. I love Jalen Royals. I actually compared Jalen Royals to Stephon Diggs. Utah State wide receiver. He got hurt. He'll be at the Senior Bowl this year. I can't wait to see what he's going to do if he's full health, because usually you don't get Senior Bowl commits if they're unable to perform. So the fact that he's going to be there, I'm excited because I think that that's his game. He looks very similar. Jaden Higgins, sorry, Iowa State, is another big body guy. Like I've been talking about, these big body receivers, good footwork. Igbuka, we know Igbuka is. He's been much better this year. He can kind of do everything for you a little bit, kind of do it all wide receiver. I'm not a big Tez Johnson fan, but I've watched literally every single one of these guys.
He's a skinny kid from Oregon, right?
He's very small, smaller than I think he's probably going to be about the same size as Troy Franklin it was coming out, if not smaller.
Oh, really? Okay. Good for me to write down. I appreciate that. See, it pays off for you guys and for me. Dan's doing all this.
So much, Phil.
You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Thank you, Kev. Appreciate you. Thank you, Hannah. We appreciate you as well. Joe Tooney is a beast.
Thank you, Hannah.
When you chart his games playing left tackle, while he's better than Wanya, he also gets a lot of chip help. When Wanya and DJ yesterday didn't. True. What contributes to performance? That contributes to his performance. It does, but again, this is, I think, very specifically to thwart the arm length issue. And I do think that is part of the formula if it's going to be successful. Do you disagree?
Not necessarily. Like when you're watching some of the scheme, they're doing a little bit more moving. You know, they're moving Patrick a little bit more outside the pocket. They are giving him some chips, and I'm not sure, but I think overall he's looked better than Wanya Morris. Like Wanya looked like he couldn't. I'll say this: the biggest difference between Wanya Morris and Joe Tooney, and even Kingsley to an extent, was that he stayed in between the rusher and Patrick Mahomes. Joe did that. He stayed in between. The other guys couldn't do that. They couldn't get their bodies to stay in the way. But Joe, even if he loses the rep, he's there. If he's getting pushed, it's because he's getting pushed to the back. So it gives Patrick an opportunity to get out and not just get closed on for the sack.
Yeah, it's an effort thing too. It's understanding that, okay, if you lose the rep technically because of length or because of the rusher's first step, there are still other things you can do to prevent the negative outcome of a sack. And I think that's just the next level of being a veteran for that long. Maybe I'm putting too much into it, but that's how it feels to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hannah, great question, and we appreciate you. Thank you. FLDB's in the house. One of our mods, over 40 months. You got to appreciate him. Happy playoff time. On to another Super Bowl. Let's get it. I appreciate you, and from your lips to Patrick's ears, I think we're all good to go there. Kirk, what's up with Bucker, and are you worried?
I'm glad he's got a couple of weeks off. That's all I'll say.
I got to say, like, I'm not sure why he continues to go down to a knee. Like, that part just seems mechanically unneeded.
Everyone kept saying that that's what he does now. No, it's not. Like, no, not really. Not that extensively. No.
And unless his meniscus is completely, like, chewed up and it's had some erosion of the underlying tissue, you clip out a meniscus, it should be good by now. You shouldn't need to do that. So that is a little bit concerning, but in terms of like the accuracy, I don't think I'm too worried about it.
No, I think he'll be fine in the postseason.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you, Kirk. Good to see you. Steven, someone started a GoFundMe to get the Bengals into the postseason. That's not the way the NFL works, folks. I hate to tell you. Maybe they should make one to fire Zach and not start 0-3. I actually think Zach Taylor's a decent coach. I think there's just some personalities on that team that I think are more into them than they are to the team. Maybe I'm wrong.
I just think that the defense was the problem, but it wasn't Lou's fault. It's just that they couldn't hit on any of the players they drafted. Like, they just haven't hit on their players, and then they let go of a really good defensive coordinator because of their GM and their scouts. Fire those guys. Get them out of the building.
Yeah, that is the way that it goes. I mean, and when who was it just on the broadcast the other day? Who were they calling a lockdown corner that isn't the kid from Nebraska? I cannot remember his name off the top of my head.
Is it Taylor Britt?
Yeah. Calling him a lockdown.
He got benched this year. We're watching the same. What are we doing here?
Right. That's exactly where I was thinking. I was like, did I miss something huge? Oh, that's why. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. Hey, fellas, I just got here, and you may have already answered this question, but if a team would want to hire Spags as head coach, could he leave? Yes, he definitely can. Clauses in NFL contracts is if you get offered a position that is higher than your current, you don't need their permission. They can block you from being interviewed. I don't think that they will for Spags. But like, no one could hire him as a defensive coordinator without getting permission from the Chiefs. But if somebody offered him a head coach job, that's different.
Yeah, they would not do that. They would say, "Hey, thanks, Spags, for the 3 Super Bowls. Go try and get another one on your own, buddy."
Right. We'll be right here. Hey, Lou, what you doing? There's options out there. Rex seems to think he's going to be the next Jets coach, so I guess he's off the table. Of course he does. It is what it is. Ashton Jetty drops to 32, Dan. Do you pull the trigger?
No. Nothing against Ashton Genty. I'm just not taking a running back in the first round.
You and me both. Never in a million years. Scotty, thank you for doing this. Would you please hit the rogue like button? We would very much appreciate that. It comes in very handy for us. Let's see here. For all of you, and Brad, thank you for the public service. When it comes to the draft, this is the channel to watch. All over the draft, very good stuff. And if you guys don't know what we do, Dan produces for the Draft Network. All that stuff, all those reviews. We produce our own draft guide, the two of us with a couple of our pals, including Jeff Porter, who does a lot of the production stats for us. We do a lot of work there, and it is a group effort. And the Athletic Matrix, you can only get it here. Raz is a great historical comparison, but Raz doesn't do anything for how people perform on the field. And that's why I still produce the Athletic Matrix. So you can only get that here and through us. So yes, we have the draft on lock at this point. I look terrible next to Dan because he does all the work up front now. This is my normal process. I don't look at prospects until January. So don't get on me. I'm a little behind. That's just because Dan is a super overachiever and he's a professional, and I'm just doing my own thing. That's all. Another question. Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate you again. What is your thought on Nagy on the interview list for the Jets? Do you think Andy will look to be enemy? If they take Nagy, would you? You looked a little sour before when I brought up Eric. What do you think?
I'm tired of the old heads coming back in. Like, I want new blood because we've seen what Andy Reid does with the same guys. Like, I understand that you love having your best friends and your buddies. Bob Sutton, we got Spags in the house. Bieniemy, Nagy's back now. Doug Pete, like, these are all people he's friends with. I just want to see a little bit of new blood.
Okay. I'm totally down with that, and I love the Grub idea. Andy being Andy. Thank you, Debbie. I will say this though: if Nagy does get a head coaching job, again, something that will happen, and he will be able to take it. The question then becomes, much to Dan's point, the youth. Is there youth? Andy usually likes to promote from within. So you're talking about Girardi, the quarterback's coach, right? You're talking, I mean, a guy that we were railing on last year in Embry is one of the youthful guys that they might look to move up. There are a lot of questions there. And I don't know that this pipeline right now is as strong as it's been in years past. So an outside hire like Grubb would probably make more sense to me as well.
I'm with you.
William, thank you, buddy. Over 3 years in the memberships. We appreciate you guys. Keep us running. First, it was the Chiefs don't want to see the Bengals. Now it's the Chargers are going to beat the Chiefs. The rest of the NFL world just wants the Chiefs to lose so bad. Yeah, I mean, I hate to put it this way. Welcome to the next evolution of the Kansas City Chiefs, folks. You are now the New England Patriots. Everyone just wants you to fail.
Y'all wanted the Patriots to lose back then too. Don't lie.
Yep.
Don't say you didn't.
I did.
You were all about it. So this is what it comes with. This is the territory. When you are a dynasty in any sport, everyone that is not a fan will just say we need them to lose. Chargers, you're going to beat the Texans, go beat the Chiefs. Oh, it's not you, Ravens, Bills, whoever it is, go beat them, please. Okay, no, Lions or Vikings or whoever it is in the NFC, please don't let them three-peat. Oh, damn, they did it again. Like that's what's going to happen.
Greatest team in history. It's going to be amazing. William, thank you. Appreciate you. Red, this is for you, Dan. What show have you been doing for the NFL drafts? Name it out specifically so they can find it.
I actually do not have one for the draft. Everything that I do is at the Draft Network. I have film rooms that go up every Tuesday, and then I do scouting reports. I was a part of Cover One for a brief moment, doing a draft podcast, but that ended before the season started. Just didn't really work out with the other co-host that was there, so we had to cut that, unfortunately.
So Draft Network here on YouTube, you can find his film reviews for non-Chiefs. Plenty of prospects there to choose from. He's been working his butt off all year, so go check him out. Thank you for bringing it up, Red. And we're going to end on this as we're over time already. Thank you guys for being here. Like, sub, hit the bell, do the things, do the stuff. Go to TDN, do the NFL 33 if you want to hear me rant and rave. It's perfectly fine. AD Mitchell over Worthy crowd is very, very quiet, Steven. You have a very, very good point. I think if it hadn't gone this way, we'd be just now talking about Worthy starting to explode. If it hadn't been that Rasheed got hurt, if it hadn't been that he had to step in a role that really wasn't meant for him, I think he would just be coming into his own.
I'm with you there. I also think that to no necessary fault of his own, to some degree, that AD Mitchell has gotten a pretty bad shake right now. Anthony Richardson, I'm still a big fan of his game. But I believe that from what I have heard, that Shane Steichen put too much on his plate this year with offensive stuff. And it forced him. Huh?
So we had 3 plays to call?
Far more than that. Like the entire playbook is what I understand. Which, again, this was a rookie season essentially for Richardson after the injury. So there are some things that happened there, and then multiple injuries for him, and also just not catching the football because there was quite a few drops. But, yes, it was never AD Mitchell over Xavier Worthy. There's effort concerns there, too. Worthy was always the better player.
Yeah, and folks didn't want to listen. There were a lot of folks who wanted to not hear that Jordan Whittington was an actual draftable player that could produce. Yet if you go look up the receiving grades for the year, he's like number 5, right there with Marvin Harrison and elite players. Not as much volume, obviously, but like we're going to give you the gems, the little guys that can contribute to a team, as well as the stars. So this is only one of the debates, Stephen. There will be plenty.
Yeah, it's not like the Colts are a well-run organization either. There's a lot of stuff going on over there.
I mean, when they didn't fire Chris Ballard today, I almost called Chris to tell him, hey, maybe you should just quit, bro. They're not going to let you out. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on over there, but we've heard lots of things from ex-players, and I mean, I don't care about what Pat McAfee says because he's a full-blown idiot, and it's the other players that used to play for the Colts that I pay attention to.
Fair enough. Glad that you guys were with us. Thank you for hanging in. We have a lot for you this week. Obviously, we are going to take a look at some things that are important for the future because we don't have the opponent yet, but we are going to build it all up. And we're going to give you a preview on Friday of the playoff games, especially ones in the AFC that are going to determine who the Chiefs play. So don't miss it. 5 days a week, like always. Gary coming up. Dan in the film room. You'll have some stuff from me. I'll try not to rant, but I can't make any promises. So thank you for being with us on another wonderful Monday night. Enjoy yourself, Dan. Thank you to the family and letting us have you this long again.
Of course, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy some more draft talk, as now the regular season is over. Even though the postseason's here, I got you covered. We got this figured out.
We are on and rolling. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.